Welcome back to the plenary session of Eurocities Culture Forum 21 from Tampere virtual stage. It's great that we have had so lively discussion in the chat so far. Let's continue that. We have invited friends from 4 member cities to join the discussion. So, please welcome Clare Lovett, Principal Projects Development Officer from London. Can you hear us, Clare?
I can indeed.
Great, and we can hear you. Then we have Lars Davidsen, the Head of Culture from Aarhus. Welcome, Lars.
Thank you.
Ştefan Teişanu, Cultural Manager and Entrepreneur from Cluj-Napoca. Are you with us?
No, just Clare.
Okay. And Sonia Ruiz, the Gender at Time Policies Director from Barcelona. Welcome.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hi.
Great to have you all with us. Our focus will be on the strategic approach on how creativity can be used to foster health and well-being in our cities. And we will begin with Clare and Lars, so please. London and Aarhus have both adopted strategies for working with culture and health, which aim to integrate art and culture through initiatives that promote health and well-being among citizens. Could you give us your overview of it? What's the actual focus and how it has been implemented from a policy-making perspective in your city? Clare, would you kindly start?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. Firstly, I'd like to introduce where I am. So I'm sat on the south of London, so this is the Thames, and here you have Quantum Cloud, which is a public art piece by Anthony Gormley. And it's part of a very new walk called The Line. And it's the first dedicated modern contemporary artwork. And it's being used in wellbeing walks, and you are able to be socially prescribed to come and visit a lot of the Line public arts. So maybe perhaps a little context. I was really inspired by our guests and hosts, particularly Pia, who was talking about the power of cooperation. Cooperation is power. That really resonated with me. Here in London, we have many, many years of practice for cultural practitioners and artists. They're delivering in a whole range of art settings and health settings, be that care homes, hospitals, closed institutions, gardens, museums, right the way across the city. The interesting thing for us sitting at the GLA is that not everyone has equal access to this fantastic practice. And so part of the process, the mayor created a culture strategy, and it was developed with Londoners and with cultural institutions and launched in 2018. And one of the key tenets within that was that Londoners should have access to culture to support their health and well-being. And that was the start of the work that we did. So one of the many strategic interventions, and the ambition is to promote the benefits of the arts. We were looking at 3 areas of work: cultural social prescribing, supporting Londoners with issues of that they experience through suffering dementia, living with dementia, and also children and young people's mental health and supporting them. What we're aiming to do is to hardwire culture into city life through health. And we're doing this through a number of flagship programs, including the London Borough of Culture, which is a year-long program which supports and engages all of the citizens within that particular borough. And the next title borough is launched next year in Lewisham, and we're really excited about that, and how the whole of May will be set aside for creative health and wellbeing activities. So this is how we develop the work. It's very, very closely connected with our health colleagues. And the mayor has a policy called the Health Inequalities Strategy, and also promotes health in all policies across all of the different cultural and units within the GLA.
Thank you, Claire. Sounds very ambitious. And then, Lars, would you continue from Aarhus?
Yes, sure. And thank you, Tampere, for having this event, first of all. I think in Aarhus, the starting point is much about our experience from being a European capital of culture in the year 2017 and the lessons learned from that and the work prior to that year. One of the main focus of that project was to get culture into all welfare areas, including the health area. And to follow up on that, in 2020, we did a mapping of culture and health initiatives in Aarhus, and that resulted in quite an expressive catalogue of over 80 initiatives in different areas. And that together conceived me and City Council that we should adopt a strategic approach to the area, and so they agreed upon a cultural and health policy in the year 2020. And we have formed an office together with my good colleagues at the health department, where we co-finance the employees, etc. And we are working together as a steering group to execute the culture and health policy. And we are quite in the starting point and in the middle point. But I would say one of the main thing is the experience from 2020 and how we actually could see that culture could make a huge difference in the welfare areas of culture and health. So that was the starting point, and why our politicians at the local level see it as a very good idea that we are working together and working on this issue. So that is the main strategic approach here in Aarhus, and it's high on the political agenda as well.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you. You both have mentioned how important the collaboration with health side is. So could you give us some examples or tell us more in detail how this collaboration has been developed in your city in practice? Claire, would you start? Lars.
Okay.
Shall I start?
Yeah, please.
Okay, great. So it's a very complicated landscape, particularly in London. It's also in flux as well. It's kind of brilliant but fragmented. There's a lot of wonderful practice in kind of hyper-local right the way across London, hidden in pockets. Many different stakeholders and players. So the NHS, obviously, social care, public health. During the pandemic, there was a whole swathe of emergency hubs, response hubs that were set up by mutual aid groups. And so you're right, it is very, very interesting when you're trying to join all of that together. And some of the ways that we've been doing that is using the role of the mayor to convene. And so we have established a number of round tables for our colleagues in health and culture to come together and to share what they have been, how they've been approaching, particularly during the pandemic, the support for Londoners. Our health colleagues have commissioned London Plus, which is an organisation which brings together the very small-scale voluntary and community sector organisations. We've created a Mythbuster. So many people have difficulties in navigating this landscape. So this Mythbuster is for cultural organisations and social prescribers and health professionals to understand what cultural prescribing means, what does good look like, where can they find it, case studies. And we're using it as a way of creating a conversation between the different sectors. It's building a shared language, and that takes time, and you can only move at the speed of trust. And with all of these different moving parts, it's quite complex. But we're on that journey now, and we can start seeing the benefits of that, because some of the benefits of that are now beginning to establish what a network of creative health cities might look like. How do we support the artists and arts practitioners that are delivering this work through self-care? And also, how do we diversify the workforce, which is really, really important, and plays also to the mayor's health inequality strategy.
Yeah. Sounds great. It all starts with building the network and the communication and so on. And this sharing, building a shared language. I think that's in practice very important, because we come from different angles and try to find a common resolution to the things. How about you, Lars? In Aarhus and your region, what's your method of proceeding in this?
We are so lucky that our good colleagues in the health department has many good experience over many years now with the work of culture and health, so they're quite open to the area. And they see primarily culture and health inside two areas: culture as a way of improving life, the social aspect, the community aspect, but also culture as a treatment and rehabilitation effort. And of course, we're working with the cultural institutions and the health institutions as well, and they're quite open to it also. But one of the things that we have identified that is a challenge is that the meeting between the two sectors out on the ground, so to speak, so that the cultural institution knows what the healthcare sector actually see as a way of efforts to go to a different kind of challenge, but also what have the cultural institution to offer to the health sector. And these meetings, there's a need to facilitate these meetings, also to gain new ideas. So much of our strategic approach right now is to facilitate these meetings and try to make the visible what the cultural institution has to offer, but also what the demand from the cultural for the health sector is to the cultural institution. And we think that is the catalogue of 80 different cases illustrate there is a lot of good work going on, but it can be structured and it can be evaluated and improved, and that is much about our cultural and health policy right now. So it's much more practical work on a strategic level that is needed right now.
Yeah. I'm sure we all could learn a lot of your cases. But one I would like to still ask to end our conversation and come to the chat questions is that you both have mentioned the culture on prescription. And could you give more insight on that? What has worked, what is maybe still in development, and how you see the future?
There was also a question of this in the chat, and please send your questions to the chat, and we will actually take the questions for all four of our speakers at the end of this session. But now go ahead, maybe Clare again can start.
Sure. So I think the question was, what is cultural social prescribing? Is that the question?
Yes.
Yeah. It's an opportunity. So for an individual who may have had some kind of chronic illness over a long period of time that have gone repeatedly to their doctor, we now have a system that has been recently introduced within the health system called link workers. And these link workers work in collaboration with the doctors. They may be set within a medical centre, or they may be part of the council. Each of the different boroughs across London have taken slightly different approaches. But in essence, the link worker connects that individual with whatever support they need for their health and well-being, whether that be financial advice, legal advice, or indeed cultural social prescribing. And some of those types of activities could be gardening, it could be singing. One particular example is English National Opera, who developed very recently a program called Breathe. And this was in collaboration with the Imperial NHS Trust. And it's supporting people with long COVID to recover from long COVID, which has been very successful. And is just starting to be scaled across the UK, across England.
Thank you, Clare. Could you give some insights too, Lars?
Yes. In Aarhus, we have the initiative called Cultural Vitamins. It is set up by the municipality and aimed at citizens who are unemployed, on sick leave, with stress and anxiety or depression. And the concept is that you get a prescription for culture by a job consultant based on the assumption that when you suffer from this, from stress and anxiety or depression, you need to improve your mental and social well-being before you're able to take a job or start on an education schedule. So they go to different kind of cultural events together in the same group. It could be singing, reading, painting, etc. And we have good experience with it. Some of the result right now is that 97% of the participants are satisfied with the course. 8 out of 10 are in better self-assessed well-being after the course is completed. And the average well-being increased from 38 to 58 on the WHO scale of self-assessed well-being. And almost half of the participants estimate that culture by prescription has made them better able to handle a job. So it's actually quite a simple thing, but it has good impacts also right now.
Yeah, great effects. Thank you very much, Clare and Lars, for this illuminating discussion. We will come to the questions from the audience later with you, so please be with us, and Jaakko will continue.
Thank you, and so see you quite soon. Next we will travel to Romania, to Cluj-Napoca, and we will have Ştefan Teişanu with us. Do we have Ştefan online?
Okay, not yet.
So we will wait for Ştefan for a little while. And Ştefan, when you can hear me, please tell. Do we have Ştefan?
Yes, I'm here. Hello, thank you for having us.
Hello. Nice to see you, Ştefan. I have to say I feel a special connection to you and your city, because we are in quite a similar situation. Both of our cities bid to be the European capital of culture, but did not get the title, and congratulations to Oulu in Finland. But now that I look at the work that you have done in your city, and I have to say I'm really impressed on how you have managed to make the most out of the legacy of your bidding process. So you are a co-founder and an executive director of Cluj Cultural Centre, and this centre carries on the legacy of your bid process and your main theme, culture, health and well-being. Could you tell us more about your work and organization, Ştefan?
Of course, good to see you in Tampere, even online for now. Yes, our organization is an NGO, is a non-governmental organization that has led the candidacy for Cluj-Napoca for the European Capital of Culture title for 2021. While doing the planning, the programming for the competition, we assembled together around 50 cultural organizations and institutions from the local environment, and then we went to building the culture strategy and then the culture plan. But what we did is also to design a plan B in case we don't get the title, which actually happened. And the plan B was basically very, very similar to plan A. It just didn't include the opening and closing ceremonies. But the whole idea was that we believed and we believe that planning for an ECOC competition should be done in a very sustainable way, and you should ask an extra question to the bid book on the bid book, and the question should be, would you still do this without the title? So this is how we thought about our culture programming, and 1 week after the final result, we announced officially that we are carrying on with the program, and we kept the organization. We just changed the title, the name of the organization, and we became Cluj Cultural Centre. And now we have 112 organizations as members. They are coming from the culture sector, the academic sector, the public sector, the civil society, and the business sector also. And our mission is to mobilize culture for the benefit of society, to bring social transformation and sustainable development. And yes, well-being is one of the key aspects that we have in our mind, in our program. It connects directly with the strategy of the city, which has increasing the quality of life as the main purpose, as the main target. And we try to look at what sort of impact can culture and the arts bring to health and well-being by working with other cultures. And we have a large program called Inner Space that looks at research for culture and well-being, pilot making, and international cooperation.
Thank you. So it's really a joint effort for the whole community, this Plan B. Like I said, I'm really impressed. You already kind of explained that why is the culture, health and well-being one of your main focuses. But could you tell us how has the pandemic affected your approach? Because this is a big question.
Yes, during the pandemic, I think the world has witnessed the fact that we are very similar, no matter of the background, no matter what our backgrounds are. We are very similar when facing a big happening, a big trauma. So yeah, we did the same in Cluj and in Romania. We experienced a new way of working, a new way of living. And when it comes for our program, for our cultural program, of course, the well-being of people and of organizations and collective well-being as well, it has become an even more important part of our work. In the framework of one international consortium that we are working with, we realized we conducted a study on art and the pandemic. We looked at how did art influence our well-being while staying at home, while trying to go through this the big first lockdown. We also looked at how the pandemic influenced the work in culture sector. So well-being has probably become our top priority during these difficult times, and we were happy to be able to prove that art consumption and art creation and culture consumptions in general can be linked directly to a better state of mind for everybody. unfortunately, we needed a pandemic to bring more proof on that.
Let's not waste a good crisis, as they say. One more question for you, and then maybe some questions from the audience a bit later. But I've noticed that you also seem to be really active in European scale. You also have an EU-funded project called Art and Wellbeing, together with 3 other institutions in Europe. Could you tell a bit about the goals of this project?
Yes, we are actually working in several European and international consortiums working with arts and health, or culture and well-being. The one that you mentioned is called Art and Wellbeing, or ALL. More details can be found at art-wellbeing.eu. It's a project that looks at how we can pilot new methods and new projects to work with culture and well-being, and to bring them to a more diverse audience. In Europe, our partners are Beaux-Arts, the Center for Fine Arts in Brussels, Maribor, the gallery, the Bruno Kessler Foundation from Italy, and the Maribor Art Gallery from Slovenia. My colleague Rarica Zbranka, the program director of the Cluj Cultural Centre, will bring more details about it in the cooperation workshop later on. But we are also involved with other projects like MESOC, where we have an international consortium with 10 cities, Cluj being the pilot city for well-being and health. This is a project, a research project. We try to define a set of indicators and a set of tools to measure the impact of culture in the overall well-being. We also work with the region of Copenhagen and Helsinki and the World Health Organization in another pilot project. And we have recently signed an agreement with UNESCO for Cluj-Napoca to be one of the pilot European cities for the new UNESCO thematic indicators for culture in the Sustainable Development Agenda, where well-being has a very important place. More details about it, about all this, can be learned from my colleague Rarica in the cooperation workshop, and also in our dedicated forum for culture and well-being that we will host in Cluj late October this year.
Thank you, Ştefan, and for your impressive list of your cooperation organizations. You can add the city of Tampere soon in the future, I'm sure about that. But thank you, Ştefan, and for all the members interested on Cluj Cultural Centre work, be sure to check out their impressive YouTube channel as well. If you have questions for Ştefan, write them in the chat and we will get back to them quite soon.
Next, we will head to Barcelona. We will have Sonia Ruiz, the Gender and Time Policies Director, with us. Welcome, Sonia. Again, you have a very interesting case to present us, time policies. This has made us in here in Tampere very curious and excited. It's true that time is core element when it comes to well-being. And Sonia, would you please give your interesting presentation on this matter to us?
Many thanks. Hello. Many thanks for inviting Barcelona City Council to take part of this culture forum. Special thanks to Tampere and Eurocities, and it's a pleasure to be here learning so much. I will see. Since 2003, Barcelona City promotes an organization of time that aims at creating a fairer and healthier society, and which is also more in harmony with nature. We know that a good distribution and use of time improves quality of life, well-being, and efficiency in organizations. And time policies benefit people's everyday lives, which are strongly conditioned by the centrality of the labor market at the expense of other important personal, family, social, community, and of course, cultural spaces. Therefore, if cultural policies can strengthen health, well-being, and quality of life, as you have been telling us you're doing in Tampere, London, Aarhus, and many other cities, with a good distribution of time, the benefits can multiply. So time is an essential element when we speak of social cohesion and sustainability. It is also a very valuable resource that needs to be redistributed, like work, in order to reduce class, gender, ethnic, racial, age, and other inequalities. At present time, poverty, as with economic poverty, bears a woman's face. So in 2011, Barcelona City Council launched its time agreement as a city agreement promoting the implementation of initiatives for helping people to live and organize their daily time schedules according to their needs. More than 243 organizations are signatories to it. For its part, Barcelona City Council is implementing more than 70 time policies adopted by some 35 bodies. This is taking place in the field of health, caring for people, participation, city services, work in enterprises and organizations, mobility, sustainability and the city, and of course, education and culture. So already talking about culture and time, in 2007, as part of our collection of time dossiers, Time and Culture, an approach to analyzing culture from the perspective of time, was published. And this publication was presented on the premise that everyone has to be able to enjoy both culture and their time. It highlighted that the demand to reorganize city timetables, opening and closing times of cultural services and other facilities was expressed for the first time by the Italian feminist movement. It also showed that the right to culture always entails having the time to enjoy it. So therefore, social and gender inequalities are crucial for understanding habits and cultural practices these days. Barcelona has a diverse range of municipal cultural services and facilities available to city residents, but the truth is that as individuals, we do not take part in cultural activities and we do not create art for reasons linked to financial reasons, ticket books, or the prices of music, the lack of resources for creating, sometimes also because of low interest that proposals might awaken, the lack of knowledge or information of the existence of activities, and available time. The last survey on cultural needs and participation of our cities suggests that a hypothetical closure of libraries and community centers would have a greater effect on people who reside in low-income neighborhoods, on women, and on individuals with non-EU backgrounds. More women than men, too, would like to do cultural activities or do more of them. But the work and especially the care responsibilities and the shortage of time make that impossible for them. So this coupling of time and culture presents a series of challenges that need to be tackled through specific strategies that we in Barcelona are beginning to carry out through several initiatives. Firstly, I shall mention the future challenges we need to address in depth. One, a time perspective ought to be introduced into cultural policies. In other words, the goals and guidelines of cultural policies should be designed to reverse time inequalities. Second, the time perspective has to be explicitly incorporated into cultural statistics. Also, a good incorporation of the time perspective into cultural policies can enable the coordination of responses to aspects such as accessibility, and can therefore also help to identify exclusions. We have just drafted a plan on facilities and gender, where management and timetables, together with care spaces and the simultaneousness of activities for parents and children, for example, are key commitments. Public prices can play a role here too, with a discount or reductions. We need to promote co-responsibility and work-life balance in companies and in the public procurement. And in addition, we need to opt for proximity, for cultural services and facilities that are close at hand to everyone, especially people with more limited mobility. At last, but not at least, I would like to briefly share 3 municipal initiatives with you. First, the first one is the Open Playgrounds. It started in 2005, and now it is taking place in nursery schools as well. This is the city school playgrounds. They are opening up as public use spaces for families, children, and teenagers outside school hours during weekends and school holiday periods. Each open school playground has its own monitoring services, and sports or artistic theme and family-focused educational dynamization activities are held. These activities, of course, are open and free in the neighborhood. Then we also have the Plan for Play. It originally started in 2019, and after the Institute for Children and Teenagers had run a participatory process in which children asked to spend more time with the family, engaging in neighborhood life and having more time for playing. So playgrounds and spaces are being transformed through a co-education process and placed at the center of the city. That means that streets are opening up and play is promoted in squares, and also priority areas of play have been created. And at last, the project in progress of libraries and timetable regulation. Libraries' uses are changing in our city, so libraries have become another space where people can interact. Before the pandemic, libraries had been analyzing the time slots of use, and it is an ongoing process right now. As it may have happened in most cities, the pandemic has also encouraged an increase in digitalization of many processes of the services. So this is being studied. Even so, Barcelona network of libraries, we have more than 40, had just started timetables that were complementing one another, morning and afternoon timetables, including Saturdays and Sunday, also under local and neighborhood criteria. Of course, there are study rooms that open until 11 and other services. I will leave it here, just reminding that the ancient Greek myths already talked of time in 2 dimensions. There was chronos, as time exterior to ourselves, immutable and constant. And there was kairos, as a personal time, the time that makes up our daily schedule, and where we have to fit in employment and care, also family and friendship, leisure, activism, and culture. It is a second aspect that in Barcelona we aim to have an impact on, to call attention to this flexible time full of cultural possibilities that we have to help to redistribute fairly. So many thanks, and looking forward to the discussion.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, Sonia, and all the previous speakers. All the presentations will be delivered you later, so don't worry if you missed something. You have a chance to come back to them all. It's time for your questions, dear members. Please write them to the chat with your name, city, and tell for whom the question is. And we will soon have all our 4 speakers, Clare, Lars, Ştefan, and Sonia, back with us for your questions. Jaakko, have you got any questions already?
Yes, we do. First question goes to Ştefan, to Cluj. The decision to carry out your planned efforts regardless of whether you won or not, was it a decision you made early or did it come during the competition process? And this question comes from Uppsala, Sweden.
To be honest, we thought about it long in advance. Because we asked ourselves the typical question every city candidate has when applying for European Capital of Culture title. And the typical question is, do we really want to win? Is it really good to have such a big project in a city overwhelming, possibly overwhelming for the local sector, for the local culture sector. So we ask ourselves this question from the early start, and then while we advanced in the competition, and we had invested more and more effort into the programming. Of course, we got into it, and we wanted to win. But then we realized that we want so much to win, and we have put so many good ideas and so many crucial initiatives for the culture sector and for the local environment in the city, that it would be a tremendous pity that in case we don't win, we lose all this. So yes, we planned it in advance, and the math was really simple. At that moment, I think in Europe we had around 250 city candidates, city candidating for European Capital of Culture title throughout the history, and only less than 50 of them have won. So then we had 200 local programs for culture and sustainable development lost. And then we said, okay, we will not be one of the 200. So we discussed with the municipality, with the local community, about the possibility of carrying on no matter what. And not only that we did that, but we have also launched a collaboration, an international collaboration, an informal network of cities called Culture Next, where we bring together almost 30 cities that are current or former candidates with the same purpose of supporting one another to implement the ECOC program, no matter if it was awarded or not with the title.
So you had a really realistic approach since the beginning, and now that we look at your work, it was the right approach. The next one, thank you, Ştefan. The next question goes to Sonia, but it's actually from Clare. So Clare, you can go ahead and actually ask it from Sonia yourself. I give you the honor.
Oh, thank you. Sonia, that was hugely impressive, really exciting. I want to find lots about it, and I just wondered during the development of it, how are you engaging your kind of Barcelonas, your people, in the development of the program, and were there any surprises in the collaboration and the delivery?
Yes, thank you very much for the question, Claire. And yes, of course, people are needed, and participation is a must in this type of projects, because it's also, I would say, what happens when we talk about care, when we talk about time policies, although it's so fundamental for everyone and it's central to our lives. The majority of the people would say that they don't know what they are. So since the 200, Barcelona has been working on that since the beginning of this century. But since 2011, we have this time agreement where 43 organizations participate that are enterprises. We have a special network also of committed enterprises that are working on flexible time, on balance time, and other specific measures in their organizations. But we also count with the neighborhood organizations, women's organizations, ecological organizations, foundations, and other type of associations that we gather all together once a year in order to update and to prioritize the different activities and initiatives. We also have grants from the city council in order to promote this reorganization of time. So each year we renew the grants for them to also for the civil society to organize activities themselves and to spread the time words.
Mm-hmm. You seem to have been working on civil participation in so many levels. Really impressive. Thank you. The next question comes from Laura Sanchez Serrano, and it also goes to you, Sonia. Laura would like to know about the plan for play, a playable city. Were there artists involved in the design of the playgrounds? Were they designed through participatory methods?
Yes, this plan was launched in 2019. There's a lot of information also on the Barcelona City Council website, where Laura, I think, can find also how the plan was developed. And the good news is that it will last until year 30. So it's a work in progress. We cannot to recenter and to put play in the center of the city cannot be done in 2 years' time or within a mandate for sure. So it's an ongoing and a work in progress where many also civil society organizations have been taking part. And also I have to say that it was inside the city council. It was also done with the participation of many bodies, like the equality bodies. Of course, the leadership was from the Institute of Young People and Children. So, there was during the elaboration of this plan, there was a lot of participation, both of bodies from the city council and also the civil society and the artists.
Thank you, Sonia. I can see that your question engine has started and there's a lot of questions. We will have time for few of them now. And the next one goes to Lars to Aarhus. Do you see a difference in how you want to receive culture in care linked to age, cultural background and socio-economic, etc.?
Once again, if I see a difference between culture and age?
Yeah. Do you see a difference in how you want to receive culture in care linked to age, cultural background, socio-economic, etc.? Sorry,
Yeah. I think in Aarhus we are trying both on a job level, but also on the elderly level. And we have, prior to this meeting, we just sat together with Clare and Sonia. We are talking about youngsters as well and the anxiety they have experienced through the pandemic. And there are different aspects that you should take into account. So I see there is a difference between social economic background, but also, as I think it was Lauri that mentioned in the beginning, that you have this you have culture for everyone, and then you have to design special courses to get culture out to some that doesn't just seek it in itself. And that is one of the things I was talking about here in Aarhus. We're trying to facilitate these meetings, but also how do we get in contact with you don't get easily in contact with people with dementia, for example. So you need to get the next in kind or the rehabilitation center into what kind of offers do they have at the museums, for example. So these meetings and different kind of connection is crucial if you need to succeed in getting cultural offers to everybody, regardless of social and economic backgrounds. They have to be specially designed, I think.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. Thank you, Lars. The next one goes for everyone, and maybe one of you can answer. Is any one of you working about well-being of the professional cultural sector? And I understand this question so that is anyone of you working with the well-being of the artists? This was a question from Olivier Sergent. So anyone working with that? Ştefan, you have your hand up.
Yes, we are looking at that as well. As mentioned earlier in my brief presentation, we are looking at how work looks like in the culture sector, and we conducted a survey on that during right at the beginning of the big lockdown last year. We also have a pilot for culture prescriptions for burnout, where we are working mostly with people from culture organizations. And if you want to connect on this, just write us an email to me or to my colleague Raritas Branca, who is directly in charge of that.
So thank you, Ștefan. The last question of this session goes to all of you. It's made by Milena Dabetic, and really short answers. To all panelists, sorry. It was from Raritas Branca, this one that I wanted to ask, sorry. To all panelists, can you share a daring idea of how you imagine culture will support well-being and health in the future? A daring idea of how culture can support well-being in the future. And let's start with Sonia.
Quite a question.
Quite a question. Can Sonia, we can't hear you.
Sorry. Yes. Sorry. I would say that cooperation and strengthening the neighborhood life, the cultural expressions, and the participation of people is one of the ways that can help to put that in practice.
Thank you. And maybe then we have Clare.
It's a very, very good question. So I think for me, I'm really interested in how you can create hyperlocal and really engage with your citizens on the ground. So what would it be like if London and other cities had creative health and wellbeing zones, hubs for where there was no wrong door for people, whoever it was, can access what they need, culture. So there would be cultural providers, the mutual aid groups, the social care, the healthcare, all in one place. And that for me would be a really fantastic thing to do.
Thank you. And then Ștefan.
Well, it's a bit weird to take questions from my colleague, but I will answer. I think one simple and very impactful thing to do was to look at well-being as a right of every person. So when talking about work environments or institutional frameworks, hospital budgets, school budgets, city hall budgets, this should be a special focus, and this should have a dedicated budget and a dedicated structure to just answer to the question, how are we dealing with the well-being of the people working here? So it's a democratic right, and we should look at it like that.
Yes, thank you. And then Lars, your turn.
Many good things have been said already, and I totally agree with Claire. The community building, the local aspects, I think is of huge importance in the future. And then we also in Aarhus, I'm quite curious about the technology issue. Can we, by somehow combining the technology together with some of these issues, I think there is some interesting perspective there to see the technology as a kind of bridge between culture and health, and how can we combine it, and the artist's role in that concept. That is something I know there's a session later on where we are looking at this, but I think that is interesting as well.
Yes, exactly. That is one of the topics of the sessions of this afternoon. But so much thank you for all the panelists. It was pleasure having you with us. And there were some questions that still are left to answer, but maybe we'll get back to them in the final report of this forum. But thank you all.
Thank you. Now I would like to ask our previous speaker, Pia Houni, back on the stage. Pia, welcome again.
Okay. Thank you very much, and thank you very much about your lovely presentations and your wonderful work, what you are doing in your countries and the cities. That's great. Okay, I tried to summarize very shortly a few comments and few points what I catch, these 4 presentation. Number 1 is that all of you have so interesting cases what you share, so interesting things happen around the different countries. I'm asking now that how we can share knowledge about these cases for others, and how to create continuity, how we protect that things are continuity. Number 2, I believe that at the moment it's very big issues, and it's about the mental issues. The most of you mentioned about that, and we know in the research work at the moment that the mental issues are big in almost the European all countries. So it's impact to the economy, but it's definitely impact to family lives and individuals' life. What we can do with that question. How we find those people who are living in a vulnerable situation, and especially the gender issue was very good as well. So I always want to say that prevention is highly, highly important. Okay, the next one, number 3, I think, validation is important. What we really want to do, it's meaning that what we maybe can do. So I think we should create some kind of good strategies around, because nobody can do all things at the same time. So when we're creating the good strategies, we can take steps going forward and look at the future. So we need the good research work, we need this cooperations, what you already share. That's all the key words about doing this. And the last one, what I want to say, thank you for this comment. It's very, very important to look at, artists' own well-being and mental state as well. Of course, it's important, because if artists don't feeling themselves well-being, how they can share well-being and the health to others? Mission impossible. That's my short comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pia.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At the beginning, Eija said that we wish this culture forum would be inspiring and interactive. And at least I have the feeling that at least this morning really has been, at least I am inspired. Hope you all are too. Our time here at Culture Forum virtual stage and plenary session is coming to an end. But the day and the forum is far from over. After lunch, we will head to workshops. There are 4 of them running at the same time. You can only attend one now, but you can watch the rest later as recordings if you are interested. And in those workshops, we will dive more deep into practice of many, many cities. You will find the workshops from the left column of your screen where it says sessions. Those rooms will open 5 minutes prior to the starting time, so don't get worried if you don't see anything yet. They will open 5 minutes before the scheduled starting time. I would also like to remind about the digital expo that is during the whole forum.
We in the Tampere virtual stage thank you warmly for the morning and wish that you will have a very inspiring afternoon and tomorrow as well. But now it's time for lunch. Jaakko, let's have some Karelian pies for starter.
Will do. Bon appetit.
Hyvää ruokahalua in Finnish. See you in the afternoon.
See you later.
Bye.